Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Why do so many people settle for less when more is possible? What if the real failure isn't missing the target, but never aiming high enough? The secret isn't chasing success. It's becoming the person success can't ignore. Most people don't fail because they aim too high and miss. They fail because they aim too low and hit. Worse, some never aim at all. They drift from day to day, year to year, until one day they look back and wonder where their life went. Success isn't something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become. And becoming that person requires constant growth, constant leveling up. The marketplace rewards value, and you must be more valuable tomorrow than you are today. I remember speaking to a young man who wanted financial success. I asked him, "What are you becoming to make yourself more valuable to the marketplace?" He just stared at me. For 7 years, he had been in the same job, doing the same tasks, developing the same skills. Or not developing at all, and wondered why his income never changed. Here's the truth. Income may grow by chance, but it grows by choice when you grow. When you push yourself to learn new skills, develop new abilities, and become more than you were yesterday, that's when everything changes. And forcing yourself to level up doesn't mean working harder at what you already do. That's just more of the same. Leveling up means doing what you've never done before, stepping outside your comfort zone into territory that scares you, a little or a lot. I had a friend terrified of public speaking. He knew that fear was holding him back, so he joined Toastmasters. The first time he spoke, his hands shook so badly he could barely hold his notes, his voice trembled, and he forgot half of his speech. But he did it anyway. Then he did it again and again. Each time, he forced himself to level up just a bit more. Today, he speaks to thousands with confidence and ease. He didn't improve just because time passed. He improved because he forced himself to grow. Growth is never automatic. The passing of time doesn't guarantee development. I know people who don't have 20 years of experience. They have 1 year of experience repeated 20 times, and they wonder why they're stuck. To level up, you must be willing to become a beginner over and over again. You must embrace the discomfort of not knowing, of lacking skill, of making mistakes. Mastery in one area builds confidence, but stepping into something new requires courage, and that's where most people stop. They choose the comfort of the familiar over the growth that comes from the unknown. Here's the truth about life. It doesn't respond to what you want, wish, or dream. Life responds to what you commit to, what you're willing to pay the price for. If you want a better life, you must commit to becoming a better person. I often ask audiences, how many of you want to double your income in the next 3 to 5 years? Almost every hand goes up. Then I ask, how many of you have a specific plan to double your value to the marketplace in that same time? Suddenly, far fewer hands remain. That's the disconnect, and that's why people stay stuck. Forcing yourself to level up isn't mysterious. It's simple, though not easy. It starts with a decision, not a wish, not a hope. A commitment that from this day forward, you won't settle for less than you're capable of becoming. Once you've made that decision, the next step is education, continuous, never-ending learning. Leaders are readers. I've told audiences for years, the books you don't read won't help you. The seminars you don't attend can't change your life. The skills you don't develop will never increase your value. I once spoke with a successful CEO who reads a book every week. When I asked why, his answer was powerful. Because I realized my life in 5 years will largely be shaped by 2 things: the people I meet and the books I read. He forced himself to level up through constant learning, and the marketplace rewarded him greatly. Here's something crucial to understand. When you push yourself to grow, you will face resistance. There's internal resistance, your doubts, fears, and limiting beliefs, and external resistance, the skepticism of others, the pull of old habits, and the comfort of familiar surroundings. This resistance is normal. In fact, it's a sign you're on the right path. Think about working out at the gym. Does growth happen when you're comfortable? No. Growth comes when your muscles are stretched and challenged beyond their current capacity. That's when they respond by getting stronger. The same is true in every area of life. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 5 because they don't fully grasp the power of consistent, compounded growth. When you force yourself to level up day after day, month after month, year after year, the results aren't just additive, they're exponential. Imagine improving just 1% each day. It doesn't sound like much, but by the end of a year, you're not 365% better. You're 37 times better. That's the miracle of compound growth. Small disciplines, repeated consistently, create great achievements over time. This is where many stumble. They think leveling up requires massive, sudden change. It doesn't. It's about developing disciplines you practice consistently, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. There are two pains in life, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. I'd choose the temporary discomfort of discipline over the crushing weight of unrealized potential any day. The disciplines that lead to growth aren't complicated. Reading good books, attending classes or seminars, finding mentors, setting goals and tracking them, managing time wisely, caring for your health, building meaningful relationships. Simple, but not easy. They require doing what others won't, so you can have what others never will. People often ask me, Jim, how can I find motivation? And I tell them, motivation isn't something you find. It's something you create through action. You don't wait until you feel motivated to start. You start, and motivation follows. Force yourself to begin, and your emotions will catch up with your actions. When I began my speaking career, I wasn't naturally gifted. I wasn't charismatic, and I certainly wasn't polished. But I forced myself to keep showing up, to keep learning, and to keep refining my message and delivery. I didn't wait for confidence to begin. Confidence came through action. That's how it always works. Another crucial part of forcing yourself to level up is being willing to fail. Not just accepting failure when it happens, but actively stepping into situations where failure is possible, even likely. Why? Because that's where growth happens, where breakthroughs are born. Most people are so afraid of failing that they never attempt anything great. They stay in the shallow end of life, where it's safe, where the water never rises above their knees. But the treasures of life, the deep satisfaction, remarkable achievements, lasting contributions, are found in the deep end. To get there, you must be willing to go where you can't touch bottom. I've failed more times than I can count. I've started businesses that didn't succeed, delivered speeches that fell flat, and invested in ventures that lost money. But each failure taught me something valuable. Every setback carried the seeds of equal or greater benefit, if I had the wisdom to look for them. When you force yourself to level up, you must develop this wisdom, the ability to extract lessons from every experience, especially the painful ones. Success without understanding how you achieved it is fleeting, but lessons forged through struggle and failure become part of you. They shape not just what you do, but who you are. And speaking of transformation, let's talk about changing your identity. This is perhaps the most powerful way to force yourself to level up. Most people try to change their results without changing their self-image, and it never works long-term. If you see yourself as a $50,000 earner, you'll find a way to make $50,000, even if, for a while, more. If you see yourself as someone who's always a few pounds overweight, you'll eventually return to that state, even if you temporarily lose weight. To truly level up, you must change how you see yourself. You have to identify with the person you're becoming, not just the person you've been. This isn't pretending or fake it till you make it. It's about recognizing that you're always in transition, always becoming, and choosing consciously who you are becoming. I once knew a woman who wanted to be a successful entrepreneur. She had the skills and the ideas, but she still saw herself as an employee. She talked, thought, and made decisions like an employee. Not surprisingly, her business struggled. Things only changed when she began thinking, speaking, and acting like a business owner, fully identifying with that role. When you change your identity, your actions follow naturally. If you see yourself as a healthy person, you don't have to force yourself to exercise or eat well. That's simply what healthy people do. If you identify as a top performer, you naturally work to improve your skills, because that's what top performers do. Another key to forcing yourself to level up is your environment. Who you spend time with, what media you consume, and the physical spaces you inhabit. These shape you in ways both subtle and profound. As I often say, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Their habits, mindsets, and expectations inevitably rub off on you. If you want to level up, you must evaluate your environment honestly. Are the people around you pulling you up or dragging you down? Does your environment make growth easier or harder? Sometimes the hardest part of leveling up is outgrowing situations and relationships that once served you, but now hold you back. I'm not saying to abandon old friends or family, but I am saying you must intentionally seek out relationships with people who are where you want to be, who challenge you to grow, who raise your standards instead of reinforcing your limitations. I once spoke with a young entrepreneur frustrated that his business wasn't taking off. When I asked about his routine, he admitted he spent most evenings playing video games with friends who had no interest in entrepreneurship. There's nothing wrong with video games or friends who choose different paths, but if you're building a business while everyone around you is focused elsewhere, you're swimming against the current. Change your environment, and suddenly, you're moving with it. Now, let's talk about standards, because this is where forcing yourself to level up becomes tangible. Your standards determine your results. Accept mediocrity, and you'll get mediocrity. Demand excellence, and excellence becomes your baseline. I often tell the story of two salespeople at the same company, selling the same product, with the same training, in the same territory. One consistently outsold the other by a factor of 3. The difference? The top performer decided that anything less than 5 sales a day was unacceptable. The average performer was satisfied with 2. Same circumstances, different standards, dramatically different results. When you raise your standards, you redefine what's possible. What once felt difficult becomes your new normal. You raise not just your ceiling but your floor. And that's how sustainable growth happens, by continually lifting that floor. But forcing yourself to level up takes energy, physical, mental, and emotional. And you can't give what you don't have. Personal management, taking care of yourself, is essential for long-term growth. Too many people try to advance their careers while neglecting their health, relationships, and spiritual well-being. They think they're making a smart trade, but in reality, they're undermining the foundation needed for lasting success. You can't perform at your best when you're exhausted, stressed, and disconnected from what gives life meaning. True success isn't about excelling in one area at the expense of everything else. It's about creating balance and wholeness. That doesn't mean equal time for all things. There will be seasons when one area requires more focus. But it does mean being intentional about every part of a fulfilling life. Force yourself to level up in how you manage your energy. Force yourself to level up in how you manage your time. Force yourself to level up in how you manage your focus. These fundamentals, capacities determine what's possible in every other area of life. Let me share something powerful. Most people have no idea how much they're truly capable of. They've been conditioned to think small, set modest goals, and be realistic. But what if realistic isn't an external standard at all? What if it's defined by what you're willing to commit to? I believe every person holds untapped capacity for creativity, productivity, and impact. Most never discover it because they don't push hard enough against their limits to see what's really there. They mistake the discomfort of growth as a sign to stop, when in reality, it's proof they're on the verge of a breakthrough. Forcing yourself to level up means refusing to accept artificial limits. It means questioning assumptions about what's possible and daring to test boundaries rather than treating them as fixed. I once worked with a company whose sales had been flat for 3 years. When I asked the leadership why, they listed realities: market saturation, competitive pressure, economic conditions. These weren't imaginary, but they had accepted them as immovable. When they challenged those assumptions and searched for ways through instead of stopping at barriers, they uncovered opportunities they'd been blind to. Within 18 months, they doubled sales. The same principle applies to personal growth. What realities have you accepted that might actually be limiting beliefs in disguise? What if you questioned them, tested them, and looked beyond them? Another dimension of leveling up is gaining clarity about what you truly want, not what others expect, not what society defines as success, but what matters most to you. Without this clarity, you could spend years climbing a ladder only to find it leaning against the wrong wall. I've met too many people who achieved conventional success only to feel empty, because the goals they chased weren't their own. The most powerful motivation comes from aligning your growth with your deepest values and authentic aspirations. When you're clear on what matters most, forcing yourself to level up stops being just discipline. It becomes an expression of integrity, a commitment to becoming who you're meant to be. This doesn't mean the path will be easy. In fact, the more meaningful your goals, the greater the challenges you'll face. But when your path aligns with your purpose, you'll discover reserves of courage and perseverance you didn't know you had. There's an often overlooked element in success and growth: the power of celebration. It's not just about reaching the destination. It's about acknowledging progress along the way, recognizing how far you've come, not only how far you still have to go. Many driven people are so focused on the next challenge that they miss the joy their growth should bring. This isn't only about quality of life, though that matters. It's also practical. Sustainable motivation requires reinforcement. Celebrate milestones. Acknowledge your progress. Appreciate the person you are becoming, not just the one you hope to be. These moments of gratitude and recognition aren't distractions from growth. They're fuel for it. And remember, growth isn't linear. It never has been, and it never will be. You'll have periods of rapid progress, then plateaus that seem endless. You'll face leaps forward and steps back. During plateaus, when you're working hard but seeing little visible progress, most people quit, mistaking the lack of change for failure. But often, these plateaus are preparation for the next breakthrough. Think of heating water. The temperature rises steadily to 99 degrees Celsius, yet it stays liquid. Nothing seems to change until one more degree transforms it into steam. Your long plateaus are the same. Essential preparation for sudden transformation when the conditions are right. The key? Keep going. Trust the process. Force yourself to maintain the disciplines of growth even when you don't see immediate results. Those who succeed long-term aren't always the most talented or the luckiest. They're the ones who push through the plateaus. Let's get practical. One of the most powerful tools for forcing yourself to level up is building systems. Willpower runs out. Motivation comes and goes. But systems, consistent processes that move you toward your goals no matter how you feel, are the bridge between intention and results. The most successful people don't depend on bursts of inspiration or heroic effort. They design systems that make the right actions almost automatic. They shape their environment, schedule, and habits so growth becomes the natural outcome. If you want to improve your fitness, don't rely on feeling motivated to work out. Create a system. Exercise first thing in the morning, set an appointment with an accountability partner, or lay out your gym clothes the night before. Make the right choice the easiest choice. If you want to keep learning, don't wait for inspiration to pick up a book. Build it into your routine. Read for 30 minutes before bed. Listen to educational content during your commute, or join a discussion group that challenges your thinking. Make learning part of your lifestyle, not a special event. Systems don't need to be complicated. In fact, the simpler they are, the more likely they'll work. The goal isn't sophistication, it's consistency. Ask yourself, what's the simplest system I can create that will reliably move me toward my goals? Another key to leveling up is being willing to ask for help. Many people, especially those who pride themselves on independence, try to grow entirely on their own. They see asking for guidance as weakness instead of wisdom. But no one achieves meaningful growth without the support of others, mentors, coaches, and peers who offer feedback, perspective, and accountability. The most successful people are often the quickest to seek guidance and learn from experience of others, welcoming perspectives that challenge their thinking. I once spoke with a highly accomplished executive who shared his unique approach. Whenever he entered a new field or faced a major challenge, he sought out 5 mentors. Each brought different expertise, perspectives, and insights. He credited this strategy as a key reason for his success across so many arenas. Forcing yourself to level up often means pushing past the reluctance to ask for help, to admit what you don't know, and open yourself to guidance. This isn't weakness. It's one of the most powerful accelerators of growth. Here's something that might surprise you. Sometimes, leveling up means slowing down. In the rush to achieve, we often trade depth for speed. We learn just enough to get by, then quickly move on, without truly mastering the fundamentals. But real mastery, the kind that creates extraordinary value, comes from depth, not just breadth. It's understanding principles, not just techniques. It's knowing not only what works, but why it works. These deeper levels of understanding often require apparent slowdowns, periods where you're not collecting new skills, but refining and strengthening what you already know. Don't mistake these times for stagnation. They are essential for reaching performance levels that remain out of reach for those always in a hurry. Another mistake I've seen is focusing solely on adding new skills, new knowledge, new commitments, without making room for them. Sometimes leveling up requires subtraction, eliminating habits, activities, and even relationships that drain your energy or scatter your focus. Every yes to something important is a no to countless distractions. Growth demands not just investing in what matters, but also cutting away what holds you back. Remove what no longer serves you. You create space for what truly matters. This isn't about chasing some picture-perfect minimalism. It's about intentionality. It's ensuring that what fills your life is aligned with your highest priorities and deepest values. Sometimes, the most powerful way to force yourself to level up is by clearing away both the external and internal clutter holding you back. As we wrap up, I want to clarify something important. Yes, growth requires a kind of force, a willingness to push past comfort, overcome inertia, and persist through challenges. But don't confuse that force with harshness or relentless self-criticism. Sustainable growth doesn't come from beating yourself down. It comes from self-respect and genuine care for your development. The most effective kind of forcing is like the steady guidance of a loving parent. Firm on what matters, unwilling to accept less than your best, yet grounded in acceptance and belief in your potential. Push yourself to grow, learn, and achieve, but do it with compassion for your humanity, your imperfections, and the reality that growth is never perfectly linear. Hold yourself to high standards, yes, but don't withhold self-approval until you reach some far-off goal. Appreciate your progress even as you strive for more. In the end, the choice to force yourself to level up is really a choice about who you want to become, not just what you want to achieve or acquire. The promotions, financial rewards, and recognition are valuable, but they aren't the heart of it. The true reward is becoming a person of greater capacity, wisdom, and contribution. When you force yourself to level up day after day, year after year, you're not just changing your circumstances, you're changing yourself. You're becoming someone who sees more, understands more, can do more, and can give more. That transformation is the greatest reward of all. So I challenge you today, don't settle for less than what you're truly capable of. Don't accept the limitations others place on you, and certainly not the ones you place on yourself. Push yourself to grow. Push yourself to learn. Step into the things that scare you. Persist when challenges arise, and rise again when you fall. Not because you're lacking as you are, but because there's so much more within you waiting to be expressed, so much more you can become, so much more you can contribute. The world needs people willing to force themselves to level up, who refuse to settle for mediocrity, and who show what's possible when someone commits fully to their own growth. Be one of those people, starting today, starting now. Not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, not when it's easy. That is how transformation happens. That is how you force yourself to level up. And that is how you create a life filled with meaning, impact, and lasting fulfillment. Wishing you great health, happiness, and remember to subscribe to my channel, Mindset Daily.